to the opposition leader yesterday, Mr. Golding. I heard much of Mr. Golding's presentation yesterday. Yes? And he dealt with several things. Yes, several things. He wasn't short of things to deal with. He was aggressive, up in your face. Sometimes he attempted to reach out, but he was up and down. But it was a presentation, I thought, that was meant for the base of the People's National Party. In tone, in style, yeah, he was giving red meat to the base. That's how he started and he continued. That they are now solid as a rock, with 28 members. It was clear. In other words, Golding was saying, stick with me, stay with me. There are some other pretenders trying to push their head up, but stay with me. I have delivered, yeah, from 14 to 28 seats. Yes, I have this thing, so stay with me. That's going to be interesting. And then he also went on to criticize the government's revenue-raising measures, calling it a toxic cocktail. Toxic cocktail. Yeah, that's how he described it. Yeah, and he waded in to the tax revenue measures. Obviously, the opposition leader is going to do so. Raising taxes is unpopular. Yes, and what he tried to do was to bore holes into the government's tax-raising revenue measures. Yeah, he tried to show inconsistencies. Yeah, here's Abigail Bartley's report.
The opposition leader chided the Holness administration for its spending and revenue plan for the new fiscal year, noting there was nothing in it to help the economy rebound in the post-Hurricane Melissa environment. According to Golding, Jamaicans face a triple threat of problems that are not being addressed by the Holness administration.
The combination of the post-Melissa hardship, the Middle East war, and the government's tax package is a toxic cocktail. Toxic. It will be bitter medicine to the Jamaican people. And Prime Minister, you need to tell the people when you speak on Thursday what your plans are for protecting the society from the impact of this Middle East war, especially those who are still struggling to get their lives back together after Melissa. That's what the people want to hear from you.
Golding says the government's budget plans appear blind to the real situation facing struggling Jamaicans.
What are we to expect from the budget for the coming 26-27 fiscal year? Despite the massive hit to our economy and the growing despair and anger that many thousands of Jamaicans feel who really need help, the budget for the coming year allocates a contingency of $30 billion Jamaican for capital expenditure on recovery from Hurricane Melissa. That is less than 1% of GDP. The budget also brings a tax package of $18 billion at a time when the economy is reeling from Melissa and the war in the Middle East is threatening to drive up the cost of living. This is not a budget to drive economic recovery.
When she opened the budget debate on March 10, the Finance Minister Fayval Williams said the government considered the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and its implications for both fiscal and economic planning. Mark Golding says the situation is now far more grim than when the finance minister spoke.
This could not come at a worse time because the war in the Middle East is driving up oil and gas prices. It is going to include fertilizers, it's going to include plastics that are used in manufacturing, and so many other things, because in that area, the Persian Gulf, natural gas production is being shut down, oil and gas can't escape, and it is part of the whole supply chain, food production of the world and the manufacturing production of the world. Petrochemicals are a critical ingredient in fertilizers and in pharmaceutical drugs and so many other things. So we're really looking at a dread situation.
Abigail Bartley for Nationwide News.
We're looking at a dreadful situation, says Mr. Golding. Therefore, how can the prescription not be tough nor bitter? And this is where, when you're in opposition, you have the luxury, the comfort of being not the person in the hot seat who have to make the tough choices between option A and option B. In the aftermath of a natural disaster that gutted more than 50% of the Jamaican economy, no government is going to have easy, sweet medicine to administer. Yes? And Mr. Golding rode that yesterday. He rode it. He exploited it. And that is what you get in competitive two-party democracies. It is going to come down to the judgment of the Jamaican people, knowing what hit us, what are the options the government is pursuing, and then they will have to make a decision. Did they make the right call? Did they handle it well enough? But bitter medicine, there will have to be. Hence the tax package. Yes? According to Mr. Golding, he offered some options. For example, he said, if it were a PNP, it's time for the break. Let's go to the break and come back. So we are on the opposition leader's budget presentation yesterday. And one of the things Mr. Golding said was that in the event that there was a PNP government, it would introduce a multi-year tax exemption initiative for new local businesses. This was also said by his opposition spokesman, Julian Robinson, last week. He added that those businesses would also benefit from a waiving of other costs.
Even government programs for MSME support that are announced and funded year after year have failed to have the desired impact. Their design failed to take the limited capacity of MSMEs into account. And so we don't have transformation. We don't have transition to a better economy. You lower these costs and remove these barriers. That's your job. We would offer a 3-year tax holiday for businesses once they formalize their operation. We would provide discounted government registration, permit, and licensing fees for doing business throughout the same period for new businesses coming into the fold.
Mark Golding, the opposition leader, he says under the PNP, micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises benefit from 15% of Government of Jamaica contracts.
This government, and every government, spends billions of dollars annually on goods and services. Small businesses should get their share. The law to allow this has been in place since 2019. We modernized the procurement system with the Public Procurement Act. Regulations took a long time to come after it. 2019 they came. Nothing has been done to make it happen. 7 years later, you're saying you want to do it now. Well, let's see. This cannot be just mere talk and more of the same. You should be proactive in pushing these arrangements to favor MSMEs. Earmark 15% of government contracts for MSMEs. Actively monitor that target to ensure that it happens.
Mark Golding, yes, and he made a telling point there. This was introduced in 2019. We're now in 2026, yes, and it has not yet been done. I would love to hear the finance minister's response to that come next week. He's also proposing a $1 billion fund, $1 billion fund for young Jamaicans. He didn't identify who he classifies as a young Jamaican. Is that person under 40, under 35, under 25, what? Who establish technology-based businesses.
Madam Speaker, our young people in this country have ideas, they have energy, they have talent, they need capital, they need mentorship. What are you doing about this? I don't see nothing. Way too little. We would have established a revolving $1 billion National Youth Innovation Fund to support youth-led tech and creative startups, empowering our youth to innovate and lead. That would be bringing back better. We must do something for the young people.
We must do something for the young people. Yeah, the PNP seems to like this $1 billion fund. There's a $1 billion fund for young people, a $1 billion fund for the young creative artists. He also said yesterday that the government should consider removing the general consumption tax, GCT, on water. Yes, he made a comment as he criticized the government's imposition of a special consumption tax on non-alcoholic sugary drinks. The opposition leader used 2 bottles of water as visual props as he made the point.
2 of these bottles of water make 1 liter and cost $200. A liter of gas at the pump is $185. Water costs more than gas in Jamaica. If we really want to encourage healthy consumption, then remove the GCT from water and other healthy alternatives so that the people can afford to buy them.
Mark Golding, the SCT on non-alcoholic sugary drinks is set to earn the government $10 billion in revenue. The government says the move will also have the effect of reducing the consumption of sugar among the population. Golding says the design of the tax is flawed.
Neither of the taxes on sweetened beverages or the environmental protection levy, neither of them is designed in a way which will improve public health or support environmental causes. Neither of them. The tax on sweetened drinks is imposed on the volume of liquid in the container, not on the amount of sugar in the liquid in the container. And therefore, it provides no incentive for beverage manufacturers to reduce sugar content. Furthermore, the mere fact that the government intends to collect this tax, which is how it's funding its budget, shows that it intends for the beverages to be purchased anyway, so as to generate the tax.
Mark Golding. He also dealt with the government's restoration of owner or occupant family shelters roofs program. He described it as a mere drop in the bucket, given the scale of the damage wrought by Hurricane Melissa.
The government's housing repair program, roofs, is less than 1/3 of 1% of GDP. The PIOJ says the damage to Jamaica is 56% of GDP. A $500,000 grant, Jamaican, to households rendered homeless by the storm. It is welcome, but it's also clearly inadequate to rebuild homes. The same is true for the households that suffered major damage and are receiving $200,000 grants towards their repairs, and the $75,000 grants for those who suffered relatively minor damage. All of that money is welcome, no doubt, but clearly it is insufficient to repair the major damage to the housing stock in Western Jamaica in particular.
Mark Golding. So when you listen to Mr. Golding, yes, a drop in the bucket, the scale of the damage is so widespread. How much more could we afford? He didn't say. Yeah, he didn't say. $500,000 in some instance. And there are others who get between $75,000 and $500,000. More than $5 billion in grants have been disbursed under the program so far. How much more should we give? He didn't say, and where would it come from? He also said the program does not facilitate sustainability or resilience.
The ROOF program also appears to ignore the element of resilience in its design, merely handing out grants of amounts which are manifestly insufficient to cover the cost of adequate repairs, guarantees that households resort to the least cost approaches to effecting those repairs because the money is enough, so they have to make it stretch. This is clearly short-sighted, Madam Speaker, as Jamaicans should be using construction materials and techniques that will make their homes more resilient to future climate disasters than they were before.